This video lesson covers markup and markdown. Here's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg. He's up. In this picture, Mark Zuckerberg is down. But markup and markdown is a lot more than that. Markup is when we increase the price of an item. Please make sure to write this down along with me. We increase the price of an item, usually in order to make a profit. Anything you see me add to this worksheet, you should write on your worksheet as well. If you need to pause this video at any time in order to catch up with writing, please do so. So markup, we increase the price of an item in order to make a profit. So here are some important words. Store buys an item at a wholesale price. So wholesale is what the store pays for the item. And then afterwards, the store sells an item at a retail price. So the retail price is how much the consumer pays for the item. Therefore, to calculate the profit, what we'll do is take the retail price minus the wholesale price. You'll need to know those words wholesale and retail while you work on this assignment. Markdown is also an important idea. We've talked about markup and markdown a little bit in the past. Markdown is when I decrease the price of an item, or in other words, I put it on sale. Some reasons I might do this are the item is not selling at the current price, and so I'd like to still make a smaller profit off of it, but get rid of it. Another reason I might put something, mark something down is because I have a newer type of that item and I want to get rid of the old ones. Most of the time when something is being marked down, it's because the seller wants to get rid of it so that even though they get a smaller profit, at least they get some profit by selling it. If you haven't gotten all these definitions written down, please go ahead and write them down now. Pause the video and do that. Let's take a look together at number 1. Games Galore Superstore buys the latest video game at a wholesale price of $30. The markup rate at Games Galore Superstore is 40%. A says, not including tax, how much does the store charge for the game? There are 2 ways we could figure this out. I could take $30 times 40%. And then add that answer to $30. Let's calculate that now. 40% of $30 is $12. So what this $12 plus $30 represents is the markup amount plus the original. So in other words, the store will keep a $12 profit, plus they're going to also charge the $30 they paid for the game. Another way that I could have calculated this would have been taking 1.4 times 30. Here's where those numbers are coming from. 1.4 represents 100% of the price the store paid for the game, plus 40%, the markup rate. So that's where that 1.4 is coming from. That's coming from 140% turned into a decimal to give us the same answer of $42. So in other words, not including tax, the store charged $42 for the game. We've already discussed the answer to part B, so please write the answer to part B on your paper. If you're not sure what our answer was, go back and watch the past few minutes of the video again. Let's take a look together at number 2. Please make sure to follow along carefully because there are a couple different parts to number 2. On Black Friday, a $300 mountain bike is discounted by 30% and then discounted an additional 10% for shoppers who arrive before 5 a.m. These two percentages, we cannot just add them. We cannot take 30% plus 10% because we are talking about two different wholes. So we need to do two different calculations here to answer these questions. A says, find the sales price of the bicycle for a shopper who arrives at 9:30 a.m. So the 10% does not apply. Here's what we know. We know that the bike was $300, and then we're taking 30% off. So one way to do this would be to take $300 minus $300 times 30%. $30% of 300 is 90. So that changes my expression to 300 minus 90, or in other words, 210. So the bicycle costs $210, or the bicycle is on sale for $210. In order to answer part B, we need the answer to part A. We can't just start fresh. We can't just do part B from the start. Let's take another look at part A before we go on. Another way to calculate part A would be to take just 70% of 300. So let's look at where that 70% is coming from. Just like in number one, what I'm doing here is I'm thinking about the change in the percentage rather than the change in the dollar amount. So previously, we were paying 100% the price of the mountain bike, but then we took away 30% of the price of the mountain bike. That left us with 70%. We're allowed to subtract there because we're talking about the same whole. Both of those times, when we talk about the whole, we're talking about 300%. So it's okay that we subtracted those percentages. That'll give us the same answer of 210. The reason for part B that we can't just take 30 plus 10 and get 40% is because we're talking about two different wholes. When we're talking about 30%, our whole is 300. So as you can see by the green, the 30% corresponds to 300. So does the 100%. That's why we were able to subtract. But now we're talking about a shopper who arrives at 4:50 a.m. So it's discounted an additional 10% for this shopper. So this 10% talks about our new whole, which is $210. So now we have a new 100%, and it corresponds to $210. So let's use our percent subtraction first this time. We were going to pay for 100% of the price of the bicycle, but now we get 10% of that 100% off. So I can subtract because we're both talking about 210 as my whole. That leaves me with 90% of the price that I paid. So I could take 210 times 0.9 to find my discounted price of my bicycle, which would be $189. The other way I could approach this problem would be to think of the starting amount, which in this case is $210, and take away 10% of 210. This will give me the same exact answer. Or in other words, I'll take 210 minus 21, which is 189. So the price for a shopper who arrives at 4:50 a.m. is $189. Part C is a simple subtraction problem, so I'm going to let you do this on your own. Pause the video right now to answer Part C. Let's take a look at Part D, because here's a really important part here. We have already established that the total discount is not 40%, right? We talked about how taking 30% and then taking 10% is not going to give me 40%. To find the total discount, there are a couple of strategies I could use. One would be to take my final price, which is $189, and divide it by my original price, which was $300. This tells me that I'm paying 63% of the price of the bicycle, which means that I am paying for 63% of the bicycle, or in other words, I have a 37% discount.